gonna start the song again?
All right. Welcome everybody to Culture Kitchen Live. My name is Simon, and I'm the host of the show every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Used to be Culture Couch back when we could gather at VIU. That's a day when, or an event where students share a little bit about their culture and their cuisine. So the online version during this COVID era has changed into Culture Kitchen. That's why I'm in my kitchen, and I'm joined by a friend and a recent grad from VIU. We actually go back to the Malaspina days at that institution when we were both in studies about a decade ago already. Hard to believe. But anyway, Chris is with me today, Chris Brown, otherwise known as Farmer Brown. And he's going to lead the demo as far as sharing how to make some delicious food. So welcome, Chris Brown, to Culture Kitchen.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. This is definitely what I'm into.
Excellent. So let us know what you're going, well, maybe first of all, introduce yourself a bit in terms of your connection with VIU, and then what you're going to prepare today.
Sure. Yeah, I studied, I did a Bachelor of Arts at Malaspina from 2003 until 2008. And that's where we met in some of the club scenes. And,
yeah, through the Students' Union.
Yeah, through the Students' Union. And I became really passionate about agriculture and the connection to civilization and sustainability. And it made me realize that the most positive thing that I can do in my lifetime is grow healthy food and take care of the land through regenerative and organic agriculture. And so, yeah, that was years ago. And this is my 9th year as a farmer. And recently I completed the Bachelor of Education program at VIU. And it was a really great experience. And now my goal is to be a farming educator and bring in farming and agricultural learning to the public school system, because everybody eats, and I feel like there's a disconnect right now between the food that goes into our body and becomes our bodies, and growing it, and just what's happening to the world right now. So I think if we can inspire youth and empower youth to understand food and cook and grow
to grow it. And as I've been saying since episode 1, embrace the kale. And the good thing, as I say about kale, is it grows in this environment almost year round. So, and you're part of the inspiration for doing something that's kind of simple in a way if you have a place to grow, and it's just so good and so nutritious. So let's get into the food for today. What do you have lined up for us?
Yeah, so you talked about cuisine. And for me, cuisine is based on what is in season. And so I don't base my cooking on any recipe. I base it on what is available locally. And so about 30 minutes ago, I walked through my garden and just picked what was growing right now. And so for this Culture Kitchen, I'm going to prepare a simple omelet using some eggs from our chickens and some fresh vegetables. And I'm also going to make a spring greens salad. Yeah,
excellent.
So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
and so just to emphasize, what Chris said he's doing on this program is he's making his meal strictly with foods from his garden. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I'm always impressed with how abundant gardens are if you care for them. So,
and we're early in the season, so I'm curious to see what you've got already ready to use.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just going to adjust the camera here, and I'm going to introduce some of the foods that I'm going to be working with today. So for our salad, I've got, let me just make a little adjustment there. All right. So in our salad, which is going to be raw, I've got parsley, which is really good for your breath and for your blood. We're going to have some fresh mint in the salad as well, which gives it a lot of nice flavor. One of my favorite things that I'm eating just so much of right now is fresh spinach from the garden. Just nutrient dense, lots of iron. This is called garden fern lettuce, and this is a local seed variety from Good Earth Farms up in Black Creek. So we've got some garden fern lettuce, and then we also have this Merlot lettuce, which is also from Good Earth Farms. And then Swiss chard. Swiss chard is really high in magnesium, which is good for your muscles, and it's also good for your brain. So I got some baby Swiss chard for the salad. And then this one I'm really excited about. This is called Aurak, and there's a couple different varieties of it, or also known as purple mountain spinach. It's from the Alps, and it's been cultivated for about 4,000 years. I'm always so fascinated about the story behind foods. So those are the ingredients for our salad, and then for our omelet, I have, which I'm really excited about, the first zucchini of the season. So it's not very substantial yet, but it's going to be tender and buttery, and I always celebrate the first of the season. So this is called
Hey, good on you for having a zucchini, even though it's
in May.
not a large zucchini. It's still to have your garden that far along shows you were really on top of things. As soon as it was warm enough to plant or use a greenhouse, you were obviously doing that.
Yeah, this is my 9th season farming, and it's taken me 9 years to get to the point where I've kind of mastered all this. So just keep going. That's important about gardening. So this one is called a Romanesco zucchini, and then this is called Ronde de Nice. I think it's a nice and round zucchini, and it's zucchinis come in lots of different shapes and colors. So for the omelet, zucchini. And then I also have some fresh green onion, nice fresh oniony flavor. This is called a Chinese a Chinese broccoli. So I've got some Chinese broccoli that we're going to chop up. And then I have 3 different varieties of kale from my garden. So this one is called White Russian. This one is called Red Ursa. And this one is called Cyber Frill. So,
wow.
Few different varieties.
So is that kale, that's this season's kale, or is it from last season that's just still alive?
Yeah, no, this is this season's kale.
Impressive.
Totally. It's like I said, when you care for the soil and you care for the garden, Earth is generous.
You know, and with that assortment of kale, you could really make a nice bouquet.
Yeah,
the photo of mine with the bouquet of kale, but you've got a variety. It almost does look like you could make a floral-like arrangement with that. Very nice.
Yeah, I have one of my goals is to offer edible bouquets for Valentine's Day one year.
Sounds lovely.
And then, of course, we have our eggs from our hard-working, free-range chickens in the yard. Okay, so let's get to it. So I have behind me on the stove, I've got a cast iron skillet, and I really love cooking with cast iron. It's just something I've gotten used to. So I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to put a bit of olive oil in it, and I like to wait until it's almost smoking before I start to cook on it. So I'm going to turn it on.
Now, Chris.
Yeah.
This is a good departure for people to see the cast iron. In previous episodes, we've all been working with the non-stick, which I talked about as a sensitive issue among Canadians and I think anyone with roommates or hosting students. So a cast iron is a different kind of care. And in a way, it's a much more resilient pan. That's a long-term pan, in my opinion. So maybe give people a little lowdown on how that works.
Yeah, sure.
Or how you care for it, because it is different than a non-stick.
Yeah, cast iron, you need to season it. You need to make sure it has kind of a greasy layer to it, and that keeps it non-stick. And there's also a bit of a technique working with it, which is only cook on it when it's hot and ready to go. And also you have to oil it at the end of every use. And we very rarely wash it with soap. So there's a different type of cleaning technique. So
yeah, because if you use soap, you're taking that film, that layer that you need for it to cook nicely. Because if you take it all out, everything will stick. So it is.
and
Different.
it could even rust.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a bunch of different sizes of cast iron, and you can throw them in the oven. You could even put them in a campfire.
Yeah.
So it's versatile, and it's like you said, long term.
Yeah.
And I've it's you are what you eat. And if you
Mhm.
have one of those non-stick pans, if there's little bits of the Teflon that are flaking off, those can come into our bodies. So it's just something to be aware of.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for that.
I've turned it on. I put a little bit of olive oil on it. I'm gonna wait till it gets nice and hot. In the meantime, I'm gonna I'm really cautious about overcooking my vegetables. So through experience, I've learned that I just don't want to overcook things so that they have the maximum nutritional value. So kale stalks, they take a little bit longer to cook than the greens. So I'm just going to take these stalks off, and I'm going to chop these up because I'm going to cook them first. And this way you're
That's
using
maximizing the veggie there, because some people, I don't know who, just throw them aside.
yeah, and like
In my grilled cheese special, I did that. That's what I'm referring to.
part of the
It's too hard for inside a grilled cheese, but yeah, if you take your time, like you say, you can use much more of the plant than maybe we're used to using. But you just have to be.
I think valuing the whole plant is really important as well. So I actually just tried a piece of this. It's juicy and it's sweet. So, this is the value of eating local food. Is this is still alive. It just came out of the garden. The cells of this plant are still alive, and as it goes into my body, it's nourishing to my cells. So this is the value of as fresh as you can get. And that's why it's good to befriend farmers if you can.
Yeah, or go to a farmer's market, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually a farmer's market in Nanaimo every Wednesday at Beban Park from 2 until 6 p.m.
Excellent.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Right on.
Okay, so I got these chopped up. I'm just gonna make sure my timing is good. I don't want to throw them on quite yet. Just putting them to the side.
Timing is a huge part of cooking, and I've got to admit, I often do overcook my veggies. Not really intentionally, but you put stuff on thinking you can just add as you go, but that preliminary work of chopping everything, having it all ready, can really have yourself in a better position for not overcooking, right? So part of as I say, in this COVID era, it's a good thing to just slow everything down, including our cooking.
And we spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and this is probably our favorite place in the house because we have such a deep relationship with food. All right, I just cut up these are called Welsh onions, and it's a spring onion. So I'm actually they have about the same cooking time as the kale, so I'm gonna put those in there. And now I'm also just gonna crack my eggs, and these are fresh this morning. Holy, am I ever lucky.
So can you get local eggs at the farmer's market as well?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I knew that. I just want to let people know that there's that option, right? Because I think that's the thing to know about it. There's an option.
Yeah, it's also it's important to know what the chickens are eating, because what they eat becomes part of the egg, which you eat, and then becomes part of your body.
Yeah, so, and generally just have a better taste with a happy chicken makes a happy.
You got it.
Egg. I mean, maybe that's philosophical. The chickens, do they experience happiness? I guess we don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, they're a sentient being, so I think it's almost metaphorical that you want your animals to be happy.
Yeah.
So, all right, and this zucchini is going to have about the same time as well. So I'm going
Okay.
to put it in there. So now I've prepared my things. So I'm going to go back to my grill, to my pan, put it back on the heat. And I'm going to drop this veg in the pan, and it's going to cook for maybe about a minute. And then after a minute, I'm going to put the eggs on. And then I cook my eggs just enough. I like them quite soft. I think I want my service to happen all at the same time. So I'm just taking that off the heat, and I'm going to prepare the salad now, so that the salad is ready. So pretty
We
easy.
have a tradition here on the Culture Kitchen for exceptional plating.
Oh, indeed.
At the end of the show, we want to see what it looks like, nicely presented, as if you've made it for a special guest at your home.
Yeah.
Or a partner, and you just wanted to look at this beautiful dish. So
okay.
I know you won't disappoint there.
That's I like that invitation. So these are all the different greens that I had mentioned for the salad, and I'm just gonna chop them up. I'm actually gonna take these, just the mint tops.
So that's a different variety of mint. The mint that I have in my garden is a smaller leaf. I don't know if that's just the soil or if it's a different variety.
If you go to the Richter Seeds in Ontario, if you check out their online catalog, they have something about 40 different types of mint.
Okay.
So there are mint enthusiasts who are breeding different types of mint. So
there must be an online community of mint enthusiasts.
There's a mint enthusiast community.
Maybe in my retirement, you never know what kind of hobbies you can pick up, but maybe I'll find myself in a chat room discussing mint.
I mean, this is something that we talk about.
Yeah.
And now this is just the kale that I'm chopping up for the omelet.
And actually, one of the great things about getting into gardening or just visiting friends that are into gardening and walking around and checking things out, you really realize how much diversity there is in terms of the different varieties of veggies. Mm-hmm. As at the grocery store, as you know, they're getting wider variety than there was since we were kids, for sure. It's still nothing compared to what you see in a garden enthusiast's yard, right? So it's really neat.
The food at the grocery store is often grown for shelf life, uniformity, and transportability, whereas stuff in your garden is grown for flavor, nutrition, color, and scent. So there's a big difference there. And for VIU students who are tuning in right now, I'd like to invite you to go check out the VIU Community Peace Garden, which is by the library. That's a project that I've been involved in for the past couple of years, and we've got a big diversity of interesting things growing there. So it's worth checking out. And also, if you're able to come to the farmers market, which is Wednesday from 2 to 6 at Bevan Park, or at Woobank School Sunday 10 to 1. And it's really amazing, the diversity of things that farmers are growing, and it changes over the season. So what you see there now will be different in a few weeks. And then come summer, I mean, bring on the tomatoes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Chris, you mentioned something. I was so engaged in this veggie talk, I kind of forgot to check the comments on the Facebook Live.
Yeah, what's up?
There are a few people tuned in. I'm just gonna take you through the comments as you.
Yes.
So, Anouk is tuned in, and she is excited for this collaboration. She knows that we've been friends for a long time, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Union and. Okay, Dana, my colleague, is saying her hubby always reminds her about never washing the cast iron pan with soap and water. That's right. It's easy to forget if you're used to the other type of pans. It's a different, it's a different animal. Just a different tool, right? Instrument.
It's a tool.
Dana's also said she's never heard of kale described as juicy and sweet. Well, maybe because you don't eat the stalk and fresh from the garden.
Come to the market tomorrow. We'll have some juicy sweet kale.
Okay. And okay, do you ever get the stalk? The stalk is, Tammy is saying, from our front desk staff. She knows about the sweet and juicy stalk. I'm impressed, Tammy. That's great. Don't throw out the stalk. Do you ever get double yolkers from your local chickens?
Yeah, from this batch of hens, I have not, but I've heard of it. I've also heard of an egg inside of an egg.
So all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody who is watching live.
Yeah.
And we hope a lot more people watch it after the fact. Of course, it stays on VIU Cultural Connections Facebook forever.
Yeah, right on.
All right, let's get back to the food. What's going on now?
So I'm gonna just I'm gonna start cooking it, and then I'll plate it out. All right. So I'm waiting till that's nice and hot, which it is now. And then I've got my prepared onions, kale, stalks, and first zucchini of the season.
Good sizzle.
Oh, sizzle.
Mm-hmm. Every cooking show needs to have a good sizzle in my mind.
I think there's a Snoop Dogg joke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So really, I only want the veg to sweat and change color a little bit. So I'm only going to give it a couple moments before I add the kale, and then I'm going to add the kale leaf, and then I'm going to add the eggs. So
could we describe your cooking like you're basically blanching the veggies?
Yeah,
Is that different?
I just really don't want to overcook any of this fresh stuff because it's alive.
Yeah.
So that's just part of my practice. Okay, greens are going in.
And actually, another thing about when it's from your own garden, you know the conditions, you know how it's been handled. You've handled it yourself. So, because one reason I know some people like to really cook their food well is because they're worried about different hands that it's passed through and potentially and pesticides and different things. So then cook the heck out of it to make sure it's clean, which is a valid concern. But I guess that's another reason why to buy local or to grow your own is the food is clean, right?
Yeah, I have a really intimate relationship with this food. I cared for the soil, and I prepared the compost for it and planted the seed and the plants. And so, it's really a relationship that I'm cultivating with the soil and the food. And I think that more people would like to experience that. All right, I'm moving quick now. The eggs are going on.
Yep.
You see it there? Cool. And this isn't sticking.
Beautiful.
So, cast iron.
Like a lot of things in life, if you care for them properly, they last forever.
A little bit of pepper.
Oh, there's a scientist watching your show now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tamara.
Yeah, shout out to Tamara. Tamara is an amazing cook.
Yeah.
Okay, that's almost done. So, got my plate. Here's my salad going on. And of course, you need some condiments with your omelet. Okay, that's done. Okay.
Oh, are we almost at the full plating experience time?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta line up some music for this, Chris, before you take the first bite.
Yeah, here's the plating. Now, you need some condiments with your food. So I have a mustard pickle from last year's cucumbers and zucchini and corn. So I'm gonna have a little bit of mustard pickle with it. And then I also have a spicy.
That is vital. They're not just some rhyming words.
A spicy tomato ketchup that I've made from last year's tomatoes and peppers. And maybe just a little bit more pepper. And, you know, I really just love my salad greens straight up, but I will put a little bit of olive oil on them. And
I guess you could do olive, you could do balsamic.
Yeah, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
But my style is to take a bite of something savory and take a bite of my greens, and the savoriness kind of adds to it. Oh yeah, and here's the zucchini flower.
That's a beautiful plate. Very nice. And I'm really impressed that you have your sauces are homemade as well from your garden ingredients from last year. So this is truly a 100% local dish, and it's hyper local because it's your own yard that you're getting the produce from. So I'm going to put on that music, because this is the part we've been working towards, that first bite, and we want to celebrate this. So I've got a nice song by Maccabee called "Health is Wealth."
Something that's just got to be heard.
Here we go. Try that first bite.
Who's responsible for your health? Look in the mirror. It's your very own self. You can't rely on nobody else. Health is wealth. Vital is vital. Try and take care of yourself. Health is wealth. Vital is vital. You can't rely on nobody else. Health is wealth. Vital.
How do you like the song selection? Health is wealth. Yeah. So yeah, your first bite's there. It looks like you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't get much better. That's a beautiful plate and nutritious, right?
And I think that what I've just done here is it's introductory. Like, anyone can cook this. And if you don't eat eggs, you can substitute it with something else. But there are 5 S's to eating local food. So stir fry, soup, sandwich, smoothie, and slaw.
Oh, so, like a coleslaw.
Or like a shredded salad.
Right.
You also add steam to that.
Ah.
So, you know, people will come to the farmer's market and be like, yeah, what do I do with kale? And I'm like, yeah, stir fry, soup, salad, smoothie, slaw, or steam. Mm-hmm. Any one of those will give you success.
You know, and having those conversations with the farmers is great, or with food enthusiasts around the community. Obviously, in the COVID era, it's a little bit trickier. That I don't really want people socializing so much at the markets, but hopefully that's just temporary.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a little bit of self-education or conversation that can really change your perspective and your habits. For me, I'm not hardcore into it, but I certainly grow food, and it's awesome. You know, I do get a lot of joy out of it. And I think as far as the wellness piece, which is so important always, but especially now when we're at home more, spending time in the garden with plants, caring for plants is something that really feels good. And then when you get the results, you get to eat from it, it's just more goodness. So whether you're sort of diving in deep or just having a small garden, I think it's all very positive and healthy for multiple reasons, not just food, the nutritional intake, but also as a activity. It's great.
You know, I started farming when I was 27, and before that I had zero knowledge. You know, I had an interest in it, but I taught myself, and you know, my ancestors were farmers, but my parents weren't farmers. So I didn't grow up on a farm. I had some experiences as a kid, but I think that, you know, whether growing a small garden or a big garden, the important thing is it's just part of your lifestyle. And I think, like you said, you can get a lot of joy from it. And also just, it's such a positive cycle to care for it and then, you know, get to harvest it and eat it yourself.
And you get to, and you learn. That's one thing I wanted to bring up about, because I remember when you switched professions or directions as far as work and where your energies were going. So much of where you're at today is by trial and error and just getting out there and doing it, which is, I think, a really great example to just try it. And even for me, as more of a smaller scale, each year I'm learning, right? And that's been a great thing to, like, now I could talk garden a bit with folks, you know, and I know how to use kale, which I didn't, you know, several years ago. Somebody gave it to me and it just sat in my fridge. I'm like, what the heck do you do with this large leaf?
Yeah.
It's not lettuce, right? And you got to know that.
And I think, like, you know, I like to have just chopped up stuff in my fridge, whether it's, you know, like these stalks or these greens, and you can add it to all of your meals. So I think if you're making even macaroni and cheese, you can add some greens at the end, and it will steam in and just give you that minerals and nutritional boost.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to end us off here with more of that song.
Hey, remember what Dr. Dre says, right? Eat greens every day.
That was it. Yeah. He's positive, inspiring.
Dr. Dre.
Thank you very much, Chris Brown, Farmer Brown, for sharing your delicious dishes with us. The seasonal salad.
Fresh from the island.
Yeah, the veggie omelet, and completely local, all from your garden. Really love to see that, and I hope you've inspired some people with the idea of producing your own food.
Yeah.
So we're going to end with that music again. Folks, this has been Culture Kitchen every Tuesday on VIU Cultural Connections page. It's a project of the intercultural programs and the Cultural Connections team. I am Simon. Chris Brown. Until next week, folks, email me if you want to host your own. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. See you around. Farmers Market.
Generation is there in abundance. Vitamins and minerals and whole heap of nutrients. Anti-inflammatory and antioxidants give your temple a chance. Cause health is wealth. Item is vital. You gotta take care of yourself.